Greetings, this is the Desert Shaman or Roger Thunder, whichever one you prefer. I have to say both of those because I have channels on BitChute and I also have a Blogspot channel and I have, let's see, Rumble. Rumble, that's the other one. So sometimes you may want to go to those different, there's links below. You might want to go to those different platforms in case I want to put something on there that can't be talked about on BoobTube, GloobTube, whatever. I got a real interesting topic, though, that I want to talk about today. Things come to me all the time, and sometimes it's beneficial to put a video right out when I'm thinking about it, or channeling from that higher source, that intuitive source, that wisdom source, that what's another a name for it? The higher self, um, the ancient emanation, whatever, gives me ideas sometimes. And so today I wanted to talk about, and I'll call this AI versus UI. Okay, AI, as we all know, is artificial intelligence, and UI is, I don't know if there's, I coined as far as I'm concerned, I probably coined the term. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. When you channel, it could come from anywhere, but universal intelligence, okay? Artificial intelligence, AI, versus universal intelligence, UI. And I was thinking about this today in terms of, well, you hear it bannered about often that they want to plug us into AI, man. They want to, okay, so the vaccination thing, some people say there's chips, and uh, some people say that they want to get us all in like a matrix type thing and plug us into AI. Okay, first of all, I got news for you. We've been plugged into AI a long time ago. Folks, this happened a long time ago. Projecting something down the road that has actually happened is ludicrous. So when I say they got us a long time ago or they got us plugged in, what do you think? What do you think you're watching right now? You're watching a computer. You have a cell phone. You have technology on steroids being used to inculcate ideas into people. Basically, that's what it amounts to. See, and in a sense, we've been in AI a long time, artificial intelligence. And there's two kinds of artificial intelligence. There's the kind that was programmed into us since birth, where we were clear, we were completely, and let's talk in terms of a computer. Let's say you have a clear computer, all right? And that means that you have all kinds of gigabyte space and tons and tons of gigabyte space. And see, the mind is a computer, okay? The mind is the best computer on earth, far advanced of any computer you could ever develop. That's what it was developed after. So when we are brought up as children in social conditioning and the stuff that we're exposed to, let's say in schools and religion and governments and just the whole ball of wax, history, false history, that in itself is a kind of artificial intelligence because it's not real. It's not universal intelligence. As babies, we were close to being pure universal intelligence. In fact, we probably were. But that never went away. That didn't go away. It's still there. But as you're programmed through life, you realize that it's an artificial kind of intelligence. Okay, so you got that artificial kind of intelligence. And then you have the artificial intelligence that's on top of that, okay, which is computers, programming. I should maybe I should say in addition to or strengthening that or fortifying that artificial intelligence is because of the advancement in technology is strengthening that artificial propaganda, intelligence, brainwashing, all of that kind of stuff that I've talked about before. But then let's talk about the universal intelligence. Let's go back and forth. Let's talk about universal intelligence. Well, the universal intelligence, and this really puts everything. It sums it up. It opens the door for you to see what's really going on in terms of talking about it. Talking about it in terms of computer, because I think everybody to a degree can understand computers because they're on them all the time. They get their apps and they get their software and they get their a lot of information. They're plugged in totally. I mean, you go to a restaurant. Well, you can't anymore, I guess. But if you go outside and you see people, they're looking at their phones. They're always on their phone. They're plugged into the AI, basically. Now, when you plug into the AI, are you plugged into the UI? Are you plugged into the universal intelligence? Universal intelligence comes directly from above, and that's a metaphoric term, above, like as above, so below. That's metaphors for, that is a metaphor, I should say, for us plugging into that universal intelligence as above. Okay, and how do you do that? Well, you do that by hours and hours of meditation, discipline, study, thinking outside the box, and you do that by learning how to do it. Okay, because that's something that at one time we as a species probably, and it might not have been a species in this lifetime or on this planet, but at one time we knew what that source was, and that was the main source, and that is the God source, if you want to call it that. You can call it the God source, although in my mind that term God has been adulterated to such a degree that it's maybe better to find a different terminology for that. Okay, maybe you should call it the ancient supreme source, or ancient consciousness, or universal intelligence. Okay, universal intelligence. Look at it that way. So we're computers, right? And we were created by this universal intelligence. We are, if you want to, we're a branch of the mainframe, right? We're a branch, we're an offshoot, if you want to look at it that way, of the mainframe computer, or the almighty, or the united universal intelligence. We are plugged into that. However, as time goes on, like I said before, with the interference from the artificial intelligence, it's like the artificial intelligence is a new software program that's kind of overriding the universal intelligence. In other words, the more you tap into the software of artificial intelligence, then the other intelligence, the important intelligence, the universal intelligence, is compartmentalized, gets a back seat, so to speak. It isn't prevalent, isn't to the forefront. It's put on a back burner. It's put in computer terms. Oh, maybe I don't know, in computer terms what you'd call it. Probably it's put into a sleep mode. There you go. It's put into sleep mode, like you do on your computer. You put it to sleep, right? Well, there's a part of our brain or our connection that's been put to sleep. Thus the term that I've used many times, sleepers. Okay, people are sleeping. They've been put into sleep mode. While another part of them has been put into AI mode, artificial intelligence. So it's like having a computer, two computers in one. Now see, this is what your brain is. This is what your mind is. This is what your higher consciousness is. And then, of course, you have your subconscious or your lower consciousness, or, well, lower consciousness and subconscious. So the subconscious is a bunch of programs that have been programmed into us, much like you have a bunch of information on a disk, okay? On a disk. It's in there. It's not going anywhere. Well, let me qualify that. It could go somewhere if you have the ability to, and the knowledge, okay, to override it or overwrite it would be a better terminology, overwrite. And so that's basically what we're constantly trying to do. Now, when society, we're constantly trying to override it. We're constantly trying to get back to that pure, clean slate, let's say, the clean slate of before the computer got all messed up with all this programming. So you got to look at it like your mind is a computer. It's the most fantastic computer, and it's linked up with the supreme computer. So if you look at it in those terms, is there anything that would be troubling you if you know these terms and you know that you have the ability to override or override some of the programming that's been put into the computer, or erasing that programming that's been put into this computer here? Okay, and it doesn't just go into, when I say mind or brain, or that's a very loose term because all that stuff is in your energy field, okay? It's in your aura, okay, that surrounds your body. If you develop the third eye, you can see people's auras. And there's, for the most part, there's junk out there in the auras, just like they're putting junk in outer space, just like they're shooting up satellites in outer space. So AI and UI, artificial intelligence and universal, what do you want to be plugged into? All this stuff that's going on right now surrounding us in this third dimensional realm has just strengthened the third dimensional realm. It's strengthened the hold that they have on you. When they issue edicts and mandates about your health, and when they tell you you have to believe a certain way, and then when they talk about cancel culture, there's an insidious word for you, cancel culture. Look that one up and see what that means. You know what that means? It means ostracizing somebody. It means uh, canceling them out erasing them, just like they're trying to do with Trump. And that's their agenda. Okay, and that's part of the artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence says, "Oh, this is okay. We can do this. This isn't good for you. This isn't good for your. This isn't something that you need to know, or this is something that shouldn't exist." Say, like history, for example. You shouldn't know about history. You shouldn't know about the Civil War. You shouldn't know about this person and that person. We don't allow that anymore. Really? So these people are like master programmers. They start these movements. They start the movement like the woke movement and the cancel culture. All these little buzzwords start coming up from these idiots that are in these think tanks, okay, that decide that, well, this is the best way to control mankind. This is the best way to control mankind. We'll do it through lies, deception. We'll do it through what I've talked about before, uh, developing apocalyptic religions, instilling fear and guilt, instilling all kinds of things that are not to the benefit of mankind in general, instilling all kinds of things for control. And believe me, this has been going on for thousands of years. This is nothing. There's nothing new under the sun. Cultures will shift, civilizations will fall over and over and over again. Civilizations sometimes become extinct. Civilizations are ruled with an iron hand. Tyranny. This is all the artificial intelligence, but it's gotten way, way, way advanced now, people. It's got advanced to the degree that they can, when you see them shooting 4,000 satellites surrounding the Earth, and they're saying it's for 5G. They're saying that the new 5G technology, AI, will benefit you greatly because, man, you can get all these, you can pick up 5G, which is much better than 4G or 3G. It's so advanced, you can do things on your computer. They'll be faster and all this stuff. And yeah, let's get those satellites up there. Let's see if we can surround the Earth with a grid of 4,000 satellites. Now wait a minute. Hold on here. Hold on. I want you to think about something here, and I want to bring you to certain realizations here. Years and years ago, when I was a young pilot, I was flying around from city to city. There was a new thing called GPS. And it was in a very large box about this big that sat on the panel of your aircraft that you had to plug in. Very cumbersome, but you could triangulate your position anywhere on the planet off of how many satellites? Three. Three satellites at that time had enough strength, okay, and energy to triangulate. Of course, now they got GPS and cell phones the size of a pinhead. But you could triangulate your position anywhere on the planet originally off of three satellites, okay? Now let's say they do have a new 5G technology that's going to increase the cell phone coverage and all that shit. Let's say that's what it's for. Let's buy into their lie for a minute, okay? So if you can triangulate off of 3 satellites, and those satellites cover the entire planet, why the hell would you need 4,000? Think about that for a minute. It only takes 3 or 4, and if they really wanted to up it so that it covered everywhere, the most you would need is probably 4 to 6 satellites in outer space. That would cover every angle of the Earth, would cover every angle. So if this new 5G technology is for the reason that they're saying, just to provide a service for your cell phone or your computers or whatever, your big screen TV or whatever, new 5G technology, why the hell would you need 4,000? Think about that just for a minute. So are they creating a different kind of grid to project a different kind of artificial intelligence? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Because it's not about just operating your cell phone. It's not about watching your big screen TV. It's not about any of that. It's not about any kind of communications. Okay. 4,000 satellites is like forming, when you look at all the radio beams going between them and then maybe down to Earth, you're creating a giant spider web. You're creating a huge, huge mesh around the planet. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? You have to consider all kinds of factors. I mean, when I think about it, I consider all kinds of factors like, do they know something we don't about incoming? And when I say incoming, I mean something coming into the planet like I've talked about before. I'm going to cover a lot of ground today on this UI versus AI. Do they know something that we don't about incoming? And what do I mean by incoming? Well, there's lots of things that could be incoming. Lots and lots of things. For one thing, it could be an asteroid or all kinds of asteroid or an asteroid belt breaking loose coming towards Earth, which has made mankind extinct before. For another thing, it could be we have created such a mess in our ionosphere. The ionosphere is like the womb for a baby, Mother Earth being the embryo. The ionosphere is a protection. The magnetosphere is a protection. But they have been messing around with this stuff for years. They've been messing around. Their technology has been trying things and messing with things. And so what they did is they destroyed the ozone layer, and they destroyed all kinds of they put the magnetosphere probably in an imbalance. They've done all kinds of things to this planet that could make us go extinct, okay? Well, what are they doing now? Trying to cover that up by, let's say, spraying the chemtrails and by putting these 5G, 4,000, let that sink in, 4,000, okay? 4,000 5G satellites up there. Maybe the other thing that I might suggest here is aliens. I'm talking about star beings. I'm talking about. See, there's no doubt. If you had any doubt in your mind about alien intelligence, or let's say aliens, or let's say people from other planetary systems, if you have any doubt about that, I suggest you remove it right now. Because not only is it all around us, it's with, there's people walking around on the planet most likely from other dimensions and other realms and other planets, okay? I watched an interesting movie the other night called Phenomena, and what it was is a documentary that went way back, a new documentary. I highly recommend it. That went way back to the beginning when they were first starting to spot UFOs, and till the present time. And the documentation in that movie was the facts and the documentation and these people like generals and Strategic Air Command generals and generals that have their hands on the nuclear missiles, that kind of thing. They have come right out and said on the record, even in front of a camera, okay, about how our military base, these silos where we keep all the nuclear missiles, were penetrated a long time ago by UFOs. They have hovered over missile silos, turned them off, turned them on, just to play with our minds. A lot of times, when these UFO sightings, and I'm talking about massive UFO sightings, and they're not. I don't even like using the word unidentified flying object because we know exactly what they are. They are identified. I use that term because everybody uses it, but they're not unidentified. They're identified flying objects is what they are. They know exactly what they are. There's probably constant communication between entities on the planet, shall we say, and those entities that are off planet or off dimension. So there is much more to this than meets the eye. There's much more to this than meets the eye. We're in a situation right now where we've got all kinds of incoming or possible incoming. And so what do? I mean, where are we in this mix here as a citizen on this earth? As a citizen on this earth, where are we in the mix? What opportunities or chances or options do we have as a species? Well, if you look at it from the third dimensional realm, the options are becoming slim. They're becoming slim. Slim to none. Slim pickings. But if you look at it from a high spiritual level, which is the only way to look at it at this point, then our options are great. Our options are there as they always have been for us. And throughout the ages, man has imparted secrets in traditions of spirituality, meditation, ancient traditions, ancient knowledge, ancient technology, which existed even before the technology we have. So how do you access this knowledge? Well, you have to search for it. Nobody said it was going to be easy. You have to be a truth seeker. You have to be a wisdom keeper. You have to be a meditator. You have to be a yogi. You have to be a shaman. You have to be intuitive. You have to be a psychic. You have to be developing your other senses. You have to be developing the part of your brain that has been brainwashed. You need to erase that, clean that slate, and reprogram it. That's what you need to do. How are you going to do that? Well, again, you have to plug in to the supreme software, the supreme mainframe, the supreme intelligence that propagated all this stuff in the first place. When this existence came into being, this consciousness that created all these things, when it came into being and creatures had free will, entities had free will, they could either use that free will to enslave mankind, to enslave other entities, other species, let's say. That's what they're using their free will for. So when people talk about dark entities on the planet, or the cabal, or let's say they call them the Luciferians, they call them the demons and all this stuff, okay? Well, if that's the way you want to frame it, that's fine. It's fine. I mean, if you want to frame it in terms of being powerless over, almost like being powerless over demonic activity or satanic activity or Luciferian activity, then it's almost like you're saying, oh my God, they're attacking us. There's nothing we can do about it. They can inhabit us. Well, I'm telling you, what I'm talking about goes way, way, way beyond all this mythology about demons and devils and Satan and Lucifer and gods and goddesses. That's all a smokescreen, has been for thousands of years. Thousands of years. It's all of this stuff about creating fear of entities that are out to get you, or a mastermind entity called Satan. You have to understand, and if you do any research at all, any true biblical research, and I've done tons of it, well, then you find out that most of this stuff was created by the Church of Rome, which I've talked about before, or Church of Rome and subsequent belief systems that were offshoots of, let's say, biblical narrative, because that's all it is biblical narrative. And in this biblical narrative, of course, they've established a good versus evil. So that's one way. I mean, if you choose to look at it that way, okay, that's okay, but then that might negate you empowering yourself, okay, through your connection to the universal intelligence, because that universal intelligence hasn't a damn thing to do with gods in the Bible or devils or anything like that. It's a complete mythology perpetrated by those who wish to keep you in control and wish to control you through fear and their agendas, and if they can tie it in with your belief system, your religious belief system, why not? Why not? That's how these people work. They work on your psyche, okay? But when you get right down to it, all this stuff, religious indoctrination, and I keep repeating a theme here, but it keeps coming out because you got to keep telling the truth over and over and over again for people to finally dawn on them. You can't put faith in anything that you see around you. Get this through your head, okay? You can't put faith in anything that you see around you because it's all an illusion. It's a created illusion. Now, this artificial intelligence that they perpetrate on you, this propaganda and lying bullshit, all the stuff that they've been putting on us for decades and thousands of years, goes way, way back. If you can't comprehend thousands of years, then comprehend hundreds of years. If it's too much of a leap for you to comprehend thousands and thousands of years, I realize not everybody can grasp that, but if you can grasp hundreds of years, grasp that then. Hundreds of years, just even hundreds of years, could do a complete number on mankind, complete number on your head. You have to reprogram yourself. You have to rid yourself of old belief systems. You have to start from square one, zero, zilch, square one. That's what's going to free you up, because when you realize that all of these things have been placed upon you for a reason to keep you unknowledgeable or in a severe lack of wisdom, then that opens a door. It opens a door when you come to the realization that you're not even you, really. Alls you are, if you want to boil it down, alls we are as individuals are egos. What are egos? What are egos? Well, they're like an overlay. They're like a record player. They're like a computer disk. That's what they are. It's like a computer that's been programmed with software. What does that do? Well, it develops ego. It develops, well, I'm me and that's it, and everybody else is everybody else, and I'm underneath God, and He's got a plan, and He's going to destroy mankind, or He's going to destroy the wicked, or He's going to destroy the evil, and there's going to be a rapture, or there's going to be a great tribulation, there's going to be this, and there's going to be that. And listen to yourself. Listen to yourself a minute. Don't get all hung up in this garbage. Clear your mind. What happens when you clear your mind? Well, you tap into the universal intelligence. You ask the universal intelligence, how do you get to the universal intelligence? Well, you tap into it. I'll be doing some videos on meditation, and I've done one on breathing, and I've done one on opening your third eye. But how do you tap in? Well, this is something that you have to learn to do. That's why mankind's on Earth, maybe. I mean, if you really want to get to a master plan, we came here to see the big picture, and the only ones that see the big picture are the ones that unlearn what they've learned and relearn. Or open their mind, open your crown chakra, because, see, that's where you can tap into a lot of information. Through your crown chakra, you open up that crown chakra, you can just feel it buzzing. You can feel it buzzing when it's open. It's buzzing. You can feel it. So what does that mean? Well, when you open your crown energy center and it's buzzing, that's your direct line to God, or what you call God. So between God and you, is there anything? Well, yeah, there's your higher consciousness. But that doesn't impede your connection with that universal intelligence. Doesn't impede it. Your higher consciousness promotes it. Your higher consciousness is If you put it in Christian terms, your higher consciousness would be your Christ consciousness, or Christ being the mediator between God and man. It's all metaphor. You can look at the scriptures in a totally different way and they make sense. But they don't make sense the way they've been interpreted throughout the centuries. The only way that they're going to make sense to you is if you see beyond the veil, if you see beyond the indoctrination, if you see beyond the religious dogma. That's the only way they're going to make sense to you. That's why Jesus spoke in parables. That's why great ascended masters spoke words that people might not have understood until they reach a certain level of consciousness. But they were signposts, okay? They were signposts to how to resurrect yourself. That whole thing with the resurrection is resurrecting yourself to a higher level, dying to your former way of life, dying to your former belief systems, dying. If you want to name anything Satan or the evil one, look within. Look within, because that's where it exists. It's your own negative thoughts. It's your own self-destructive thoughts. It's your own egotistic thoughts about what you think is going to make you feel better. Lots of money, lots of partying, man. Lots of drink it up. This is good, man. This is lots of toys, lots of materialism. Wrong. Completely wrong. You can be the richest person on earth, and I consider myself one of the richest people on earth, riches beyond belief. But where do you store up your treasures? There's a term from the Bible that should be thought about differently. Where do you store up your treasures? Do you store them up in this artificial intelligence arena of the third dimension, or do you store them up in a higher consciousness, a spiritual consciousness? You can't take toys with you when you transcend. You can't take money with you. So your riches are riches of spirituality, riches of wisdom, riches of a higher consciousness, all of that. That's where you store up your treasures. That's what is going to benefit you the most. So therefore, coming full circle, then these people that are propagating artificial intelligence, and believe me, this goes very high up, goes way beyond, like I said before, goes way beyond the entities that you think you know. Let's put it this way. You're saying that there's people in the cabal and entities controlling, the dark forces controlling government. Well, you're right. You're right. But do you think that's the end of the food chain? That's not the end of the food chain. That's very low on the totem pole. It's very, very low on this hierarchy of entities. So, you have to rise above this hierarchy of darkness. You have to rise above it, and again, the only way that you can rise above it is to plug directly in to the same thing that actually they're plugged into, only they're using their willpower for manipulative purposes. Purposes, as we can see today. And it's the governments on the planet are corrupt to the core. You're never going to get anywhere by voting for this person or that person or putting faith in any kind of political structure. Your real freedom is going way, way beyond the small machinations of the minds that are controlling other minds, the minds that are controlling other minds, the minds that are, playing a major part in implementing the manipulation, the artificial intelligence. It's artificial. It's not real. It's the best way I can put it. Universal intelligence is real. Universal intelligence is a multi-dimensional thing. It's a multi-dimensional thing. So when people go running around on this planet in the third dimension, wailing and whining about this is happening and that's happening, and the travails of those who are sleeping, that's what it amounts to. It's the travails of those that are sleeping. Now, when people talk about the Great Awakening, and like I talked about in my last video, well, no, I guess it was the video before that. My last one was on meditation. But even in the one that I did on awakening, I was scratching the surface to reveal more, and I reveal more and more as I get more and more information, or let's say, I won't say more and more information because I can tap into the Akashic record, so I have all the information I need. But it's about how to present that information, maybe. How I present it through my representation or my ego, because I still got to deal with my ego. I still have to deal with my ego until that ego is completely dissolved. Because even your ego would be the closest thing that you're ever going to find to Satan the devil. Because it's there as an adversary. Your ego is your adversary. Your ego is your Satan the devil. And so every time you start to detach from the ego, it gets scared. It gets adversarial. It gets mean. It can get downright mean. So what you have to do through a process of learning is to make friends with the ego to a certain degree, okay? Because the ego feels it's been instilled in you so long it feels threatened. So you have to send love to that ego and say, yeah, I know you're here for a reason, to be able to function, basically. Just to be able to function is really what the ego is the most important for in this reality. To function, but not to control. Okay, there's two different things there. When the ego gets to the point where it's controlling you, well, then that's the baby of the artificial intelligence. That's the offspring of the artificial intelligence. That's the devil, okay? Being, as the devil definition is, adversary. Adversary, that's all it is. So you have to have a grip on how to steer the ego or how to love the ego so that it relinquishes, doesn't feel threatened, and allows you to make universal intelligent decisions or universal intelligent guidance. You want guidance, okay? So if you're gonna become, and this is just kind of a metaphor, but if you're gonna become robotic, do you want to be a robot of the artificial intelligence which is out to bring destruction upon mankind, or do you want to be a robot of the universal intelligence? Now, when you're a robot of the universal intelligence, you're not really a robot. Because if you take into consideration that this universal intelligence gave us free will, then there's a way that you can use that free will to reprogram or to program within you what you want to see outside of you. What do you want to see outside of you? What do you want to see surrounding you? Do you want to see love? Do you want to see freedom? Do you want to see peace? Do you want to see peace of mind? Do you want to see renewal? And I'm talking about all of these things: renewal, peace of mind, paradise, feeling good, feeling at oneness, unity, love from the heart, unconditional love. These are the things that you want to program into your reality. And you can only do that with the help of the mainframe computer, which is the supreme source, the supreme consciousness, the supreme intelligence, the universal intelligence. That's the way you do it. Just thinking in these terms, if you listen to this video carefully, much is being imparted to you. There's so much being imparted to you. And it isn't the messenger. It's not me that's imparting it to you. It's my mouth's moving, and I'm sitting here in front of a computer, but believe me, I'm channeling straight down from that higher source. When I get these brainstorms, like I call them, they're not brainstorms. They're clarity and congruence and integration of that higher intelligence, the universal intelligence. And at times, it's open. And it says, sit in front of the camera, sit in front of the video, and do a video and talk about this stuff. And the more I talk about it, the more refined it gets. And the more I talk about it, the more I can channel right through me and just say things that need to be said from this universal intelligence. You got to go direct to the source. There's no middleman. Like I said, the only middleman is your Christ consciousness. And that's not somebody that's going to get in the way. That's somebody that's going to hook you up. That is you. See, you just don't realize it. It's like hovering around your energy field. It is in your energy field. Everybody has that DNA, that molecular structure for Christ consciousness. They just don't use it. The scientists call it junk DNA, okay? Because people use, like, I don't know, 5% of their DNA, just like they say you only use 10% of your brain. Oh, you don't need that anyway. Oh, that's junk DNA. That has nothing to really. Good news for you. It's not junk. It's the better part of the DNA chain. It's the better part, the part that they say you don't use. Start using it. Start using it. Start activating it. There's all kinds of techniques, and you can repotentiate your DNA through different methods. You can rebuild your DNA. You can talk to your DNA. It hears every word you say. If you say my DNA is strong, it'll be strong. But you have to mean it. You have to know it. You have to feel it. Alls we are is a flash in the pan here. You know, the different thousand points or million points of billion points of light on this planet. It's all connected. It's like a grid. But there's higher grids. For every lower grid, there's a higher grid, and a higher one after that, and a higher one after that, until you get to that supreme emanation or supreme consciousness or universal intelligence. So on that subject, I guess I've said enough for now. Now I did do I have got some questions that I probably should answer on one of my previous videos, because people had questions about it, about the magnetic pole shift and the third eye and the dimensional shift and those kind of things. I know it's a tough nut to crack. I know it's a hard thing to understand. And do I understand everything 100%? Well, no, not 100%. I'm constantly receiving new information, new learning, new insight, and new miraculous revelations. Just know that when I was talking about the magnetic pole shift, wasn't to scare anybody. It's just it fits right in with exactly what I'm talking about here. Because I said universal intelligence includes all dimensions. Includes all dimensions. And as we live on the planet, we are a multidimensional planet. And some things that happen on lower dimensions don't necessarily happen on higher dimensions. That's the bottom line. So if people get spooked and about something that is going to affect them in the third dimension, like a magnetic pole shift or ice age or cataclysm or anything, incoming meteor or anything, extinction event or whatever, that's in this third dimensional reality that we're living in. As far as the knowledge that I have. Okay, if it changes, I'll let you know. But and things are constantly changing. That's another thing too, is that the universe is in flux constantly. Just depends on which way it's going to flux. But from all ancient sources, and the Mayan and Hopi, which I was talking about in that video, an awakening could happen, or a transference. See, an awakening and a transference into another dimension are pretty much the same thing. Pretty much. Because when you go to the higher dimension, you awaken. Now, whether you do that through meditation or self-discipline, or some people just happens instantaneously. Awakening, I'm talking about, enlightenment. When that happens, it can happen a number of ways. Just depends on how disciplined and powerful and how you tap into this, what I'm talking about, this universal intelligence. Because if you're tapped into that, the rest of the stuff doesn't hold any water, doesn't mean anything. It's like a shape shift. You can shape shift into another dimension. We're all just molecular structure. That's all we are. We're all just energy. except for our soul, our spirit, which is energy too, but it's on a much, much higher level. This is just a gross manifestation, our physical bodies here. It's just a gross manifestation of that higher body, that etheric body, the ether, the prana, the chi that surrounds us all, that creates the emanation known as us. So once you feel comfortable with the real God, or the real source, or the real universal intelligence, once you feel comfortable with that, that transcends all dimensions. That transcends the physical. That transcends everything. So why would you have anything to fear? Why would you have anything to fear? You're always going to be with it. It's always going to be with you. Your soul is immortal. It's eternal. Your physical body may go through changes and transitions, and you might go from one body to a next or whatever in your evolutionary journey in the cosmos. But that doesn't mean you're gone. You are your soul, your spirit, your essence. It's never gone. It just changes form. So coming from that point of view, anything that might happen upon this earth, as far as shit, the earth could dissolve before your very eyes. It could melt. You could be sitting in your living room and all of a sudden certain shit melts away and you're like, wow, what's going on? What's happening here? Well, in higher dimensions, you might not need the same stuff you need here, like appliances and all that stuff. You might just be totally plugged into nature. But you go, well, how would I live? Well, the way you live is because you control everything with thought. That's another thing that people don't realize. When you transcend, or when you get to a higher level, there's no more need for this mundane, low-level, low-technology crap that can't compare with the high technology of the universal intelligence and consciousness, because then your brain becomes a quantum computer, in a sense. And when it becomes a quantum computer, you're able to do anything. You're able to move around the cosmos at will. I don't think people realize that when I've talked about the Merkaba, the light body, another name for that is your space vehicle. So the meditation that is taught in regards to that should be learned. It should be learned, because what are you doing? Well, then when you learn that meditation and you exercise, it's like a muscle that you don't use gets out of shape, gets into atrophy and stuff like that. Well, then it's hard to use it. Same thing with the Merkaba. It hasn't been used in thousands of years. It has been with us, as it has been with your soul, your spirit, for thousands of years. And you might not have used it for thousands of years, but do you know how to use it? Well, yeah, you do. It's just all in remembering who you really are. So you have your own space vehicle, and it extends probably 50 feet around you in a circumference of 50 feet. Could even be farther, depending. But you're sitting right in the middle of a saucer. You're sitting right in the middle of a flying disc. You're sitting in your own identified flying object because you know what it is. And so when you start spinning the star tetrahedron inside your light body, which is your light body, then it activates a motor. It activates a spiritual motor. And all of a sudden, whoop, out through your spine comes this emanation of a giant vehicle, which is a spiritual vehicle, which was identified in the book of Ezekiel. That's what he saw. He saw a vision of this. So did other prophets in the Bible. They had certain things revealed to them that they knew not what it was at the time. Not really. They were astounded. So we all have this. So when we're in that higher dimension or that other dimension that I was talking about earlier, where we're going to make the shift into, well, you have access to all kinds of, and that's what probably half of these so-called aliens or intelligent beings from other star systems or dimensions, that's where they're coming from. Half of them are coming from the fact that they can just, let's go down here and see what's happening in the third dimension on Earth. Whoop, there they are. They might appear as a disk, because that's what it is. That's one way that they travel. They just transport themselves. It's kind of like on Star Trek, beam me up, Scotty. Remember that? Well, that's not science fiction. That's real. Transiting the universe in your own Merkaba, your own light body, in conjunction with the universal intelligence. So I hope that answered some questions on my last video. Not my last video. My last video was an introduction into meditation. I'll get more on with that because I know people want it. But that's an answer that one of the people that were commenting on my video were asking me certain things. And yes, I hope you get this. I hope you watch this video to the end. I think her name was her or his or Fayonet something. Was asking me some very, very relevant questions. I applaud you. It just makes me reflect on how I present stuff, and I have to get a little bit more specific sometimes, a little bit more in depth. Okay, well, I think I'll leave this video here at this juncture, and stay tuned. Tune into my channels on other platforms, which I'll put in the show notes or the description below. The way you get by censorship is to speak on a high level that they don't even understand, okay? They just think you're talking gibberish. Just, oh, he's a nut. He's just talking about. Little do they know. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Much love to you from the heart. And let's think about unity consciousness, and let's think about universal intelligence. Let's realize that we have a real good chance of transcending all this that's surrounding us, that is causing problems in the whole federation of all the planets. I'll leave it there. Adios.